Welcome to HealthTech with Purpose. How are you?
Thank you very much, Rushi. I'm very fine. I'm sitting in Norway today,
Oh,
where
nice.
we have been hit by the somewhat nasty weather named Hans. But today sun is shining and the future looks bright.
Amazing. So, Johan, would really love to understand a little bit more about you, about your background, and maybe then about the company that you are working with. So, maybe, if you can help us with a little bit more about your background, how you came about this opportunity.
Right. Yes. So to start with, I am actually from Sweden, so I'm Swede. But excitingly enough, now I turn my focus more westbound. Since basically a half year ago, I'm now the CEO of Norwegian HealthTech company, addressing the digital health space. I've spent time flies, as you typically say, but I think I've spent about 25 now 30 years
Wow.
into the health tech sector, being in various positions, coming from a quite traditional health tech background with medical devices. I spent a number of years in Philips as a country manager and CEO for Philips in Sweden. I've been in investment companies, also spent time as CEO of listed companies doing true research and in clinical development for cancer care. So I've quite a broad background in various areas, but I actually started my entire career back in the mid 90s in the telecoms sector, and then moved over to healthcare after
Amazing. Quite a extensive, broad background, and thank you for sharing that with us. So, can you explain us a bit more about what your current organization is doing, and what inspired you to join DNV Imatis?
that. Right. So DNV Imatis is digital health company developing software solutions to improve efficiency and productivity in the care setting. And we have quite a legacy in the company. The company was founded basically 30 years ago, has had a tremendous growth trajectory and growth path within Norway, but also quite early on internationally, touching a number of, let's call it at the time, first movers and front runners in digitizing their health operations. The company was in 2021 acquired by the Norwegian assurance company DNV. And when I was first contacted by actually in this case a headhunter, it was quite interesting to have those initial meetings with both the combination of the founder of the company and also the new owner. And that was actually what inspired me at the very beginning. The very interesting combination of a still very entrepreneurial company with strong ambitions, at the same time being owned by a large, very strong and well-renowned player with access to and presence in over 100 markets globally. So that was what sort of caught my attention in the beginning. And secondly, also DNV Imatis is being owned by DNV, is owned by a foundation with a very strong purpose in making a better world, and that is also very compelling.
Amazing. So it's that's why the group as such is quite a big group doing things in health tech or healthcare.
Yeah, DNV as such is operating across a number of business areas, health being one of them. And they are
Amazing.
investing heavily into, for instance, digital health, where obviously DNV Imatis is one of their important cornerstones. So we have a very strong backing from the owner all the way up to the very board of DNV.
Amazing, amazing. So, I would like to understand how DNV Matis is accelerating the digital transformation in healthcare, and what are some of the benefits that it's bringing to, clinical, logistical, and administrative teams.
Right. So I think the basis for what we do is coming from the fact that healthcare is and will for a foreseeable future be a very people-centric type of operation. And as we all know, we are growing older on a global scale. As we grow older, we're also um, um, collecting and living with more chronic diseases. This is creating an increasingly growing pressure on the healthcare systems. And at the other side of this equation, people available to actually care for us when we grow older is becoming more and more a scarce resource.
Yep.
So this is exactly what we're addressing. We are providing solutions to basically bring a high level of productivity out of the care system, to help caregivers to free up time to care for the patients, to help caregivers to streamline processes, to ensure that data is at the right place, truly connected to the patient, following the patient along the patient journey and the care path, and thereby securing a much richer data set around the patient.
Great. So on the health tech side, patients and caregivers are the critical, I would say, users of the systems that you're building.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we operate in an extremely people centric environment and context where, I mean, the people we serve are the caregivers, and the people the caregivers serve are obviously the patients. So me and the entire organization are always very focused and always trying to stay very close to the people who use our solutions, because we constantly need to learn and adopt and truly understand the environment they operate in.
Got it. Yeah. So, pretty interesting, because a lot of solutions have been built, but as you're rightly saying, the solution which is already implemented and in the middle of where multiple peoples and multiple users are involved is absolutely critical, because you have to take care of all the different aspects of different users that are coming into play, right? So, how do you manage overall the efficiency of, say, the whole system, the health tech system today? Can you share some examples around that?
You mean practical examples of how we actually support?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think if we start from the perspective or the end, which is that um, healthcare systems today are typically very much centered around a lot of data islands, silos with data that is very difficult to get a sort of aggregated grip on from a caregiver's point of view. You typically have to enter numerous various systems to collect various types of data. You have to log into various systems. You have to be trained on various systems, and those systems are many times quite old legacy systems with
Yeah.
quite some hurdles and challenges when it comes to collecting that data into an efficient sort of data aggregation for the users. And that's exactly what DNV Imatis is very good at. We basically integrate and aggregate data from a lot of sources, many times up to over 50 different sources, and make it
Wow.
easily available at the fingertips or the hands of the caregivers. And caregivers are, for example, nurses that are
Yep.
mobile workers, right? They don't sit in front of a laptop, but they are
Yep.
constantly on the run, and they need the data basically in their hand.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So, thanks for sharing that. So, from a digital transformation perspective, right? What is that? What are the different things happening, and what are the biggest challenges that you see today, especially in the healthcare industry?
Uh, yeah, so I think challenges can be divided into various different sort of areas. One is that there is sometimes a low level of digital maturity, depending on markets. I mean, we come from a Norwegian context and a Nordic context, and we are quite matured in the Nordic when it comes to digitization, right? That doesn't mean that implementing digital systems or digital tools is necessarily a straightforward or easy task in the hospital or care context. I think it's quite often underestimated that and misunderstood to some point that the digital tools or the digital solutions or platforms alone will solve problems. They are important enablers that can truly make a paradigm shift. But this needs to be combined with bold management that really sets off time to also drive change, because technology alone will not drive change. It's how you change processes and really engage um, people all the way in the organization to actually embrace new ways of working. And I think that is a challenge when it comes to digitization. The sometimes sort of available or prevailing misunderstandings that investing in a certain technology will simply solve things easily. Um, so it's much about change management and actually upper management investing time in also make change happen based on the technology. That is a challenge that I think is quite prevailing.
Got it. Got it. So, basically, adapting the technology, right? That is what the challenge I think you're calling out, because it may not be necessary that you put some good tech in place, but if it is not used the way it is intended and adopted the way it is intended, it will not solve the problem eventually. The processes are the key.
Yeah, right. Exactly so.
Great, great. So, can you can you give us certain trends in from a digital transform perspective that you feel are picking up and probably gonna solve a lot of challenges as we go along? I mean, in any such particular trend that you are seeing when it from a digitization perspective that is actually picking up and helping the healthcare industry.
So I'm not sure it's correct to call it a trend, but I think I think it's there are many efforts that are being enforced and growing, which is that of bringing together ecosystems of solutions,
Mm.
as opposed to one solution sort of solves everything. And I am in particularly thinking of electronic patient record solutions, which are extremely important and truly a core of digitizing healthcare, but it cannot solve all the various challenges that you have. So you have a strong trend is from a customer side, but also from the industry side, is to work towards standards where you can actually build sustainable solutions based on an ecosystem thinking, i.e.,
Right.
combining various sort of deeper capable systems together to build an overall operational setting. So standardization and ecosystem thinking, where through standards various solutions can be combined together, and where actually also, if you think of it from a customer point of view, you should be capable of over time also add to your system without too much cost. You should be capable of expanding your digital systems and your digital way of working without uh, being hindered by very sort of big cost in relation to integration of data and interoperability.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interoperability is, as you called out, probably one of the key things, right? Great.
I think another trend is that we need to more and more engage and enable patients to actually also use digital tools in their
Mm,
care in their care journey. There's a lot of power embedded and built into the possibilities of having patients uh, involved and engaged in their own journey. And this brings examples of this is how we can push care out of the hospitals to provide care more into the homes
yeah,
and in the primary care setting, and digital tools will definitely support those trends as well. We can simply not have all patients staying hospitalized, and need tools and processes to push care more out of the hospitals. I think another important
yeah,
area is also the preventive side of things. How can we
yeah,
use digital tools to take a more preventive approach to even prevent that patients become ill or sick to the level where they need to be hospitalized? So
yeah, yeah.
there are many promising sort of possibilities in that end as well.
Great. So more power kind of going in the hands of patients, so to say, so they can choose, if they can get treated through in the comfort of their house, against basically going to the hospital. And if technology can play an important role to make that happen, that's one of the key things. That's where kind of world is moving,
Yeah, for
as you
sure.
mentioned.
For sure, that is one of the strong trends. Yes.
Awesome. So, as the CEO of DNV Imatis, I want to understand, what are your goals for the company? How's the expansion looking? What are the strategies, if you can help us understand?
Yeah. So I will try to share it on a certain level. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
I mean, being acquired by DNV has provided us with the tools and the possibilities to become quite ambitious in our plans. We are by definition a scale up, right? And we have set quite an ambitious plan for growth, piggybacking DNV's presence globally. So I used to say we are a Norwegian company today with an international touch, and we are to turn that around to become a truly international company, but still with a Norwegian base,
Yeah.
because it is historically with our Norwegian customers that we have been innovating. We have very large customers in Norway that has put basically a lot of trust in the company, and those serves as a very strong platform for us also to grow exponentially outside of Norway internationally, i.e. taking basically 30 years of experience and relationships with Norwegian customers that are front runners in how to digitize care and bring that with us out to a number of markets. So I mean, we are setting ourselves towards quite a strong growth path. I've been into the health tech sector long enough to know that being successful on your home market is not equal to being successful on an international level. But that's also, again, where DNV as an owner comes into play and can really build a lever for us in how we make that growth come about. The strategy there is to target countries to begin with that has healthcare setting that is at least a little bit similar to the Nordic ones. And I mean, you can imagine what markets that could be if you look at, for instance, UK or the Nordics, and as well as Northern Europe. So that's how we start. We already have installations in 6-7 countries outside of Norway. So that's also something we will continue, of course, to expand from those bridgeheads and forward.
Great. So, you know, in this exciting journey, I know you have been a part of it since last 6 months, but what are those challenges that you see? You know, what kind of wakes you up at night or keeps you awake at night?
Um, one thing that's, well, I sleep quite well, to be honest, but one thing that sort of consumes a bit of my time is how to get hold of good people for our growth journey. And I'm not sure my view on that is very special from others, but I think it's extremely important in the business and the context we operate in to build an agile organization. And with that, I mean, we must not look for the best people in the sense the best specialists as we grow the company. We need to look for people that can embrace change, that has an agile mindset, and which you are prepared to take on various different assignments as we move forward. Because I think one of the things that is for certain in the industry we operate is that it changes fast, and therefore we also need to be able to constantly change the direction we move in with adjustments, and having an organization that is also capable of coping with that. So recruiting good people is of course a very important thing for us to constantly think about and work with. So that's you asked about challenges, right? Another challenge, which I think is fair to mention, is that we operate in a business segment that is to a very large extent run by state or regional fundings, meaning we are into public procurements, meaning that business cycles or the cycles from you start to engage with the customer until you're actually up and installed and running is quite long, typically somewhere between 2 to 3 years. And that's also, I mean, that requires us to have a stamina and a long-term view in how we engage with customers. It requires us to be very good in how we act as partners. I mean, we are in our relations with customers for long term. The system we provide is typically, when I meet with customers and talk to customers, we're typically one of the top 5 most strategic systems they have in a hospital. So that also requires from us to build very long-standing relations, and having that capability in our company.
Great. Amazing, amazing. So, moving ahead, just wanted to understand, if so couple of things actually, right? So from a future of digital health perspective, right? What are the key areas where you see tech is gonna play a very, very important role, in terms of shaping the future of digital health?
Uh, yeah. Uh, so maybe not too surprising, but I'm very certain that health tech or tech will play a very strong role going forward, as it has over a very long time. And tech, in my world, is not only about software where we are. Tech
Yep.
is also medtech, right? And
Yes.
they play a paramount role in building more sustainable healthcare systems.
Yeah.
Uh, and again, what I touched upon earlier on in our conversation, the health systems, or the healthcare providers are facing tremendous challenges going forward, and there is just a very, very strong drive and a very strong need for embracing technologies that can truly support this and truly bridge the shortage of people. Technology is not there to replace people, because we will
Yep.
always need people to care for people, but it will be able to support in a completely different way than we have seen so far. Um, it's very popular today to talk about AI, for instance, and for sure AI will bring very interesting possibilities to offload and free up time for caregivers and care professionals.
Yep.
Uh,
And AI. Yeah.
yeah, I was just about to say that, uh, and I always want to sort of repeat this, and also sort of put the finger on this, that technology always had to be combined by forward-looking decision makers that understands the potential and that are prepared to take bolder decisions, right? And
Yes.
it always needs to be combined with process optimization and change management. So those are also important parameters for how tech will play a role going forward.
Great. Great. Last couple of questions from my end. Uh, first of these two questions, basically, can you share some insights or lessons that you have learned from your previous leadership positions? Right, you have had a very illustrious journey so far. So, through your previous leadership positions in in the medtech business, and how it's kind of helping you approach leading DNV Matics.
So I think this goes back to what I think I've said earlier. Healthcare is very people centric. We care about, and we provide care to people, and it's people providing care to the patients. This requires a way of thinking in an organization as DNV Imatis. It requires us to constantly have the patient in mind. We are an engineering heavy company, and we have people that also, a lot of people that comes from a caring background, that has been out on the hospitals. In DNV Imatis, it is very much about blending these two different professionals together to make the engineering side constantly understand the care setting and how the care professionals daily work look like, but also at the same time taking the side of the company that has a good understanding of and comes from a care setting, to constantly feed that back to the company. And this is an ever ongoing journey which we pay a lot of attention to in the company. Then a more general sort of way that I have always approached leadership, and which is just becoming more and more important, is to provide accountability. And the flip side of that is, of course, to require people to take ownership, meaning if you have a clear vision of where you're heading, a clear goals and clear objectives, you can also create an organization that is very self-motivated and build engagement around that. And I believe very much in that way of leading a company. My entire role is to make sure that people in the company has the right prerequisites and the right conditions to carry out their work. And I of course, me and the management team needs to provide a Northern Star and make it clear where we are heading. But given that that is there, I think leadership is very much about creating the right conditions for people to get there.
Great. Yeah. Some great insights there. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those. And final question from my end. What is the impact you feel your company is bringing in the whole healthcare space? In fact, if you want to share a real life example or some case study, I think we would all love to hear that.
So let me put it like this. I was amazed to learn very early how impactful our solutions are for our customers. I've been working in a number of companies with very strong and compelling solutions. What stand out with DNV Imatis is that every time I talk to customers, I time after time experience and learn how much time we free up, how much more ease we are bringing to the care setting for the people who are on the floor and the people who are behind and planning. I talked to one of our largest customers just before the summer, and I said, "Can you give me a little bit more tangible sort of numbers to what we are contributing with?" And the lady I was talking to said that they have improved productivity and efficiency in their operation with quote unquote 15 to 20%, and quote unquote there is much more to gain from it. And I was actually quite amazed by that, because those are numbers that are far bigger than I was
Yeah.
expecting to hear. So we have a number of case studies and so on. We have done some reports by third-party institutes. I'm still learning on this side, but I've already met so many customers making clear to us that what we bring is truly impactful. And that is, yeah, it's just a fantastic position to be in. And yes, a challenge for us is, of course, to build a message around that and make more people understand it. So we have people traveling from various corners of the world to look at our references, and they typically are always quite amazed of what they see and what they learn by talking to their peers. So we are making truly strong impact.
Awesome. Great to hear that, Johan. And thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing details about your company and how it's creating an impact and how, the growth plans. And I hope everybody loved your views on the technology and especially adoption side and the process side. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining the Health Tech with Purpose podcast.
Thank you, Rush. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.